closest friend.
Welcome to our online devotion for today. We're sitting now on the 23rd of February, and today I'm going to be reading a well-known passage from the Old Testament, one that really teaches us a great deal and challenges us, it certainly has challenged me, going through it in this last week. Genesis 45, verse 3. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there has been a famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me. You, your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all you have. I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute." Verse 15. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterwards his brothers talked with him. Hear the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Oh Lord, I come before your throne of grace. I find rest in your presence and fullness of joy. In worship and wonder I behold your face, singing what a faithful God have I. What a faithful God have I. You are. What a faithful God. What a faithful God have I. You are faithful in every way. Lord, I come before your throne. Lord, I come before your throne of grace. I find rest in your presence and fullness of joy. In worship and wonder I behold your face, singing what a faithful God have I. Oh, what a faithful God have I. What a faithful God. What a faithful God have I. You are faithful in every way. granting peace from heaven. Let me comfort those who suffer with the comfort you have given. And I will tell of your great love for as long as I live, singing what a faithful God have I. Oh, what a faithful God have I. Faithful in the morning, what a faithful God, faithful through the night. What a faithful God have I. You are faithful in every way. Oh, what a faithful God have I. What a faithful God. What a faithful God have I. You're faithful in every way. Faithful God, faithful God, you are faithful.
In what is now more than 20 years of pastoral ministry, I'm amazed at some of the family divisions that I've encountered over the years. Family members refusing to speak to one another. Arguments over sometimes very petty things. Often money and inheritance is at the heart of it. Other times it can be about wedding invitations, jealousy that a sibling is wealthy, someone with a mental illness, personalities vying for power and dominance, and the list goes on and on. I've not yet encountered a family squabble over someone selling a family member into slavery, though. Although deplorable and depraved things like that do happen. In fact, just recently, a French woman, Gisèle Pellicot, became aware that she'd been constantly violated when her husband Dominique was arrested for upskirting women in a local supermarket. Now, upskirting was a new term to me. I didn't know there was such an activity. When he was arrested, police searched his computer equipment that revealed images of Gisèle being raped by him and other men. She was repeatedly assaulted by her husband over a 9-year period. What had happened was he would drug her, and then he had a website, and he'd contacted over the years 72 men in total who came round and assaulted her while she was unconscious. So not all family feuds and squabbles are petty, and I don't think Joseph being sold into slavery was a petty matter either. But in this Old Testament reading, we witness a powerful moment of reconciliation and forgiveness. Here he was sold into slavery by his brothers, who now come to Egypt to look for a better life. And he reveals his identity to them. Their actions had caused Joseph separation from his father and from his people. He'd faced all sorts of danger in Egypt. He didn't just become the ruler of Egypt. That took time. And it changed the course of his life. He'd ended up in prison. He'd ended up in danger. And of course, as I said, separated from his people. Yet despite this betrayal and the suffering he endured, Joseph forgives his brothers, recognizing, and this is important, that it was God's plan to save many lives through his position in Egypt. It wasn't an easy walk to be leader of Egypt or to become that, but as that he could make a difference. He reassures his brothers, saying, "Don't be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me to here. For God sent me before you to preserve life." That's Genesis 45:5, and we read that earlier. This act of forgiveness and understanding highlights the importance of seeing God's hand in our lives. Even in the midst of hardship, Joseph was able to take a God perspective of his past and see that God had placed him there for a reason. God orchestrated everything and placed him where he had to be at that point in time, and it was to save many. Now, linking this passage with Luke 6, verse 27 to 38, which you're welcome to read. I'm not going to read it out today, but I probably don't need to because I'm going to mention parts of it. We find Jesus teaching about love and mercy. He instructs us to love our enemies, to do good to those who hate us, to bless those who curse us, and to pray for those who mistreat us. Jesus emphasizes the radical nature of this love, urging us to turn the other cheek and give without expecting anything in return. He says, "Be merciful, just as my Father in heaven is merciful." Both of these passages call us to one thing. They call us to a higher standard of love and forgiveness than what is natural. Joseph's forgiveness of his brothers is a profound example of the mercy and grace that Jesus teaches. It challenges us to look beyond our pain and our own grievances and to see the bigger picture of God's plan and to respond with love and with compassion. Just as Joseph saw God's purpose in his suffering, we're called to trust in God's greater plan and to extend mercy to others, even when it is difficult. In our daily lives, we encounter situations where we are hurt or wronged by others. But the story of Joseph and the teachings of Jesus remind us, in fact, they challenge us. They tell us that forgiveness and love are not just ideals, but practical actions that reflect our faith. And if we can't do it, then we have to question our faith. By forgiving those who have wronged us and showing love to our enemies, we become instruments of God's grace. God doesn't need to forgive you, but He does. I can't read these passages really without reflecting on Jesus' passion. He lands up, nailed on a cross, in severe pain, suffering, all because of betrayal, power, greed, fear, status, and all those things. A bunch of sins that lead him to the cross. Yet on that cross, like Joseph did, Jesus is able to see that he is there for a reason, to save many. Both Jesus and Joseph are called beyond an ordinary type of love, which, let's face it, is transactional. It is easy to love those who love us. And it's easy to be kind to those who are kind to us, as Jesus points out. But can we extend the love to those we don't like? Those who have hurt us? Those who don't always treat us well or think like us? The truth is, we're called to it. We're called to a higher love, which is not transactional. It might be a one-way love, but we're called to it. It's God's type of love, and it is a higher standard of love than what is instinctive to us. And so this leaves us with a question. How do we go about this? How do we foster this love? How do we have this love when it just doesn't come naturally? Well, I've got 3 suggestions, and all 3 of them really mean that we need to do something intentional. We have to really think about it and let go things that are difficult to let go of. The first is simple: forgive others. Joseph forgave his brothers. Strive to forgive those who have wronged you, to let it go. Let go of grudges and resentment, and seek reconciliation whenever it's possible and if it's going to be helpful. Remember that forgiveness is a gift that you give to yourself as much as what you give to the other person. So forgiving and learning forgiveness and being intentional about it is important if we're going to achieve this higher love. The other thing we need to be intentional about is that higher love. Jesus teaches us to love our enemies and to do good to those who hate us. I find it quite helpful when I come across somebody I really, I want to tear into them for whatever reason, to think to myself, what are they going through? What is it that is driving their behavior? And it gives me perhaps a bit of patience and compassion towards other people, including people who don't always treat you well. Small acts of kindness can make a big difference. But we need to understand this, that forgiveness and love are central tenets of our faith. They are pillars of our faith, not just add-ons. And so we have to be intentional about achieving this higher love, because we all love our children. We all love the people around us that treat us well and love us. But we've got to be intentional about loving people who perhaps don't love us back. And if we can do this, we begin to heal our own hearts, but we also become a testament and a witness to the transformative power of God's love. And then the third thing I've kind of thought of is, and it comes out clearly in our Joseph reading, is to trust in God's plan. Like Joseph, recognize that God has a greater plan for your life, even in difficult times. Trust that your experiences, both good and bad, are part of a larger purpose. In fact, Jesus had to do that. He had to trust that going to the cross was going to achieve whatever God wanted to achieve. And this perspective can help you to find peace and strength, even in the most challenging circumstances. So by incorporating some of these principles into our daily lives, we can become a beacon of God's love and mercy and positively impact those around us, but also importantly, growing in our faith and moving closer and closer daily to that higher love to which God has called us. Amen.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing the goodness of God. I love your voice. You will lead me through the fire, and in darkest night, you were close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. Yeah. And all my life you have been faithful. Oh, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Yeah. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running, it keeps running after me. And all my life you have.
So thank you for spending some time with us this morning, and it's really good that we can do this, and I truly hope that you would implement some of these ideas to move closer and closer to that higher love to which all of us are called. And may you just have a wonderful, blessed week ahead, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Goodbye for now.
Sing